All right, welcome to the Krueg Show. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. Grant Cohn in the house. It is October the 10th. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California, New York-style Italian sausage, and Marin Auto Glass. Niners are 5-0. The Browns are next. A very impressive win on Sunday Night Football over the Dallas Cowboys. Grant, how are you, man? Good to see you.
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm scratching and surviving. How you doing?
I'll tell you, it's we just got to 25,000 subs this weekend.
Congratulations.
And I just wanted to thank you because you were a guy that helped me a ton at the start, and I had no idea about being in this space would be like, or how to go about it, where to start, and you guided me through all of it. So I just wanted to say thank you, brother. Appreciate you, and I'm having more fun doing this than I've had doing any media project in my life. So
yeah, I still remember it was like a year and a half ago. You and I at Gott's Roadside in Walnut Creek. You brought a pad and a pen, and you took notes on the whole thing, like every single piece of the process. And now look at you now, man. 25,000 subscribers in a year and a half. That's huge.
Unbelievable. And your channel is continuing to blow up. Where are you right now? Are you at 70 yet?
I got to 69, which I think is better.
69. That's right. That's better.
You only get 69 once. So hey, here we go.
There you go. I just finished, before we sat down, watching the JT O'Sullivan quarterback school on the Dallas game. And, I was impressed by Purdy the other night, but man, after watching JT O'Sullivan kind of go through it looked, first of all, every time I watch JT, I think, okay, if there's any part of people out there that think that this isn't sustainable, I don't know that that's the case. I think that this probably is sustainable because you've got the combination of these weapons plus Kyle's play calling and Brock's skills. If it was just one of the three, maybe it wouldn't be sustainable. But with all three going, you can see it when you watch the All-22. Purdy's playing at a really, really high level right now. I'm just shocked, Grant, how advanced he is, considering how inexperienced he is for an NFL quarterback. What do you make of Purdy thus far? What do you make of his performance the other night?
Isn't that what sort of makes Purdy Purdy? He's the most advanced 23-year-old quarterback we've ever seen. Is that fair to say? Like, he's not necessarily the most talented 23-year-old quarterback we've ever seen, or the best 23-year-old quarterback we've ever seen, but he's the most advanced, and he's on a great team with a great coach, a great play designer, and he's up to the challenge. Like with Trey Lance, they always said, well, he's got talent, but, this is a win-now team, and you can't really be messing around with this young quarterback. Well, Brock Purdy carries himself like he's 45. He plays like he's 35, and it's all because he played a ton in college and high school. Like, his story is so important that I think he forces teams to re-examine how they scout quarterbacks. Wait a second. Experience matters. Actual game experience matters. Let's stop drafting guys in the first round who threw 500 passes in college or 300. Maybe we want a guy who threw 1,500 passes in college and another 1,500 passes in high school, because football is like a situational game. Like, what do I do down this much, up this much, this yard line, this down and distance, this score? Do you know what to do? Do you know what to do against different coverages, blitzes? Like, he's seen it all. He's improving, but doesn't really seem like he's learning on the fly, which is just remarkable for a young quarterback.
I just think that when you can throw the anticipatory pass, I mean, it's just, with timing and touch and that kind of thing and accuracy, it's like if Ayuk knows what route he's going to run, or Kittle knows what route he's going to run, and Purdy literally can start his motion and start to release the ball before they're even making the break, how do you defend that? How do you defend a quarterback who's throwing to a spot and a receiver that's in lockstep with this quarterback who's running to a spot when the ball's coming out on time with accuracy? There were 3 or 4 balls that JT highlighted that Purdy throws the ball before Kittle's made the break, before he's even faked to the corner and then cut back in. The ball, he's already in his, the ball's already separated from his hand. He's already getting ready to throw it. it's like when you can make those kinds of throws, I don't know how you defend it unless you want to, break late, try to fool them, you know. But right now, it's like this guy. I just think I don't think there's a way that it's not sustainable. It's absolutely sustainable, and it's to me it's absolutely amazing that JT O'Sullivan Grant described his anticipation as world class anticipation. Who does that? Mahomes doesn't do that. Mahomes is great, but Mahomes doesn't throw with that kind. Rodgers does. There's a few quarterbacks that do, but Mahomes and these guys get by with great arm strength, great weapons, great play design. But like Rodgers is the only guy that I've seen recently that he's throwing the ball to a spot. And that's what Brock's doing right now. He's throwing it to a spot. Now, is it going to continue? What do you think? This week, for example, we get the Browns rolling in, and we get a chance to see the Niners D, which is number 1 in points per game, or number 2 in points per game, 33 a game, against a Browns defense that's the number 1 defense in total defense, the number 1 pass defense. Will he be able to do it Sunday against the Browns, or do you see this game as a trap game?
It's going to be interesting. The Browns have the number 1 defense in the league, and it's like there's only one way to slow down the Niners offense. It's sustainable for sure. They've been doing it for like 15 games in a row. But the only way you can shut down the Niners offense is if you dominate the trenches, because the Niners aren't super strong in the offensive line. They're solid. They're okay. And they're schemed well and they can work around it. But if you can just blow them up in the trenches, you got a chance. And I think people thought that the Cowboys might be able to do that. They were not able to do that. The Niners did a great job against Micah Parsons, but that's kind of a smaller defensive line. Like, we know what the Eagles defensive line can do to the Niners. Like, they didn't just knock out Purdy, they knocked out Josh Johnson too. Like the Niners couldn't even compete in that game. Maybe things have changed. But against the Browns, you're looking at Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Shelby Harris, Dalvin Tomlinson. That's a pretty good D-line. I just want to see, like, if there's pressure in Purdy's face all day and the run game isn't working, which quarterbacks face on other teams all the time, and it's a real tough sledding, how does he do then? Usually most quarterbacks, even good ones, struggle into that. So it's like the real test is coming for Purdy. I don't know if it's this week. What do you think?
I don't know what to expect, because this Browns team really looks awesome on D. They really do. Myles Garrett looks like Bosa, maybe better. He's playing really, really well. And then you mentioned they now have Zadarius Smith, and Shelby Harris once upon a time was Seattle's best interior rusher, right? So they got a lot of guys, that you really all have to be kind of doubled. And then when you look at their secondary, Denzel Ward is as good a corner as there is.
Yes, he is.
Delpit and Thornhill are really good safeties. And then Newsome, the Northwestern kid, and Martin Emerson, those guys are good corners. So at linebacker, they have a lot of speed. Wusu Koromoa flies around, and Anthony Walker, another guy, came over from Indianapolis. He can run really well. So in a lot of ways, I see a lot of the same things I see with the 49ers, but maybe even a better talent on the corner. So
and they have Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett. He's better than, I don't know. Is he better than Micah Parsons? Might be. Yes. Are they going to put him against Colt McKivitz the way the Cowboys didn't put Parsons against McKivitz? Maybe. I would hope so. I don't really care, but I would, just for the sake of competition.
Where is the Niner O-line in your mind? Is it a strength? We all thought it was a weakness. McKivitz has basically graded out similarly to McGlinchey, just for a whole lot less money. Banks what's Banks' status? Is he going to go in this game?
Not sure.
He's got
they haven't said
at least
yet.
That's not a bicep. That was going to be a bicep, but it's a shoulder. What's your evaluation of the Niner O-line? I know they're undefeated. They're scoring a lot of points, but are they doing it in spite of the O-line or because of the O-line?
I think they're doing it in spite of the offensive line, which speaks to how good Purdy is and how good the weapons are and how good Kyle Shanahan is. But I'm just like, not that PFF is the end-all be-all, but let's just look at their PFF grades across the board. Colton McKivitz got a 58.8. That's not great. Spencer Burford's got a 49.5. Jake Brendel's got a 61.7, and Aaron Banks has a 50.7. So PFF isn't super impressed, and yet the Niners are cruising to victory. So it's not an issue yet. But against one team in the league, it might be an issue. Philly. Or two, maybe Kansas City. You know what I mean? Like against a fellow Super Bowl contender, it might be an issue. The Niners haven't faced one of those yet. Dallas is a fraud. But I'm still looking at that because that's like the only issue on the team. If the team has a weakness, it's those 4 players and Isaiah Oliver. That's it.
You just said their Dallas is a fraud.
Yeah.
Let's hit that for a second.
Yeah.
We're singing from the same, as Lo Neal would say on the 95.7 The Game pregame, same church, same pew, Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I think Dallas, there's all this talk about Dallas this, Dallas that. I think that's a lot of just these talking heads love to talk about the Cowboys because there's a lot of Cowboy fans out there. They don't have Dalton Schultz. It's a one running back team. Their offensive line's banged up. They got a new coordinator. Dak is okay. I think Dallas is not near. Like, let's just say if you have a list of contenders, let's say there's 4 or 5 of them, 3 or 4 in the AFC. Let's say Niners, Cowboys, Eagles, Lions in the NFC. I think Dallas is the weakest of the contenders.
I mean, I thought their defense was good, but the Niners made it look ridiculous. And their offense stinks. Mike McCarthy's terrible. It's like they use the same formation all night. They use no motion. It's like they're stuck in 15 years ago. Dak Prescott's terrible. That team's going nowhere. The teams that matter in the NFC are Philly and the 49ers. Maybe Detroit. Maybe Seattle. Is there a 5th team? I mean,
I don't even think Seattle, but
I don't even know about Seattle. I don't even know about Seattle. So 3, maybe 4 teams that matter, or 2.
Right.
2 essentially.
What do you got in the AFC?
Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, just cause. And then,
where are you with Miami?
I don't know. I feel like the Niners have beat them. I mean, we saw them play, right? The Niners destroyed them, right?
With Purdy in his first game off the bench.
I don't think their defense is that good in Miami. I don't think Tua is that good.
They're innovative. I'll give Miami this. They're fast as hell, and they're innovative. Mike McDaniel's innovative.
The roster isn't as good, though.
No.
This is not.
Especially
So there's like 4 teams that matter in the league. So it's kind of like college football. It's like the Niners or Alabama.
I know.
It's like, okay, you beat Florida. Good. We'll see what happens when you face Ohio State. That's what it's all coming down to.
Right. It's like Georgia, Bama,
nice.
Whatever the 4 or 5 best teams are in college.
That's what it is now.
After the game, most guys say nothing. Except sometimes there's a corner who says something. And that's what I love about going to talk to the corners. I didn't get this from them, but I saw in the notes as I was doing my live stream in the post game. Diamador Lenore was like, "Yeah, we're I can't paraphrase it, but it was like something along the lines of, yeah, we're the best," or something. It's like, and nobody's close. I mean, it was something like that, and it was like I saw that and I'm like, yes, I love Demo. He's just, but what do you think of him right now? And I mean, what do you? To me, he is playing Grant like one of the most improved players on the team. He went to the Mamba Center in the offseason, and he just looks worlds better. I mean, just worlds better. Here's his quote. Okay, here's his quote. "Do you think this puts you guys at the very top of the NFL as a team right now?" He says, "For sure. When you look at that game and look at the other teams, it's not even close. I even try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but it's not close." I mean, that's awesome. I love that confidence, but that's what he says about the – who's that?
Jimmy Ward.
I bet you reminds your dad of Tim McKyer.
Oh, you'd have to ask him. But to me, that's Jimmy. Jimmy Ward wasn't afraid to say stuff like that. Jimmy Ward's cool. Diamador Lenore is cool. I like Lenore a lot. And to me, he's like the new Ward in the sense that he's the best player no one knows about on the Niners. The Niners are a really high-profile team, like the Cowboys and the Steelers and the Packers. And if you're good on the Niners, chances are you're really famous. Like Purdy, like Dak Prescott is way more famous because he's on the Cowboys than he would be if he was on Washington. But there's always some players in the Niners who fall through the cracks for no reason. Jimmy Ward was one forever, and now is Lenore. He's terrific. The Niners almost never bring him to the podium. They don't.
No,
like they don't promote him. I don't know. They don't promote him at all. It's always the usual suspects: Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, and one of the wide receivers. That's who goes to the podium. Other than it's like, what about? Can we get Lenore? He's great, but they won't promote him. Don't know why. And so I like talking about players like that, guys that the Niners just sort of take for granted and throw out there and don't give any love to. You're not going to see him in any commercials like Christian McCaffrey. Man, his commercials are everywhere. Same with Purdy.
Purdy with his Toyota truck.
Kittle.
Oh, Kittle's everywhere. Does Kittle really wear those cheap sunglasses? I got to ask him that. Are you really?
They're not even sunglasses. They're like glasses that you wear when you're like looking at a screen, so you don't like, dude. You don't work in an office. You don't have a 9 to 5. What are you talking about? But yeah, okay.
Let's hit a couple supers here. Mike D 49 says, Grant and Larry, who would you take, Jimmy G or Dak Prescott? Down 6, fourth quarter, 2 minutes left.
I'll take Dak.
Yeah, I would too. I don't know.
Take Dak.
I don't believe in Jimmy. Jimmy. I saw Jimmy the other night. You see that ball he threw to Mayer? That's the kind of thing Purdy just hits him in stride, big rack, big run after the catch. Incomplete.
Well, Purdy's the best quarterback in football.
Well, he's playing well. He's playing well.
He sure is.
He's playing really, really well.
He sure is.
We got a couple more here. We got Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, no, it's not a real test if P.J. Walker is starting. Is P.J. Walker going to start? First of all, I don't know. What do you make of what's going on with Deshaun Watson? I mean, not injury-wise, but just doesn't seem like the same guy from a couple of years ago. What's going on there?
I don't know. It's almost like he went through a major thing in his life and hasn't recovered. Right. I don't know. Maybe it affected him. I don't know.
That's the serial issue he has. Middleman Exotic Snacks says the Broncos got fleeced with the McGlinchey deal. Man, I wonder about the Broncos. Sean Payton is going to get everybody's A game. Did you see what Robert Saleh said to him at the handshake?
Stay humble.
Stay humble.
Man, I love Robert Saleh. I love it. I love it. I love it because it's such a like not a humble. It's like it's such an in your face thing to say in a humble way, and he got him because he said that thing about Nathaniel Hackett being the worst coach ever, essentially. Like, hey,
which you just don't do. He crossed the line, man.
Nah, you don't do that. You don't do that.
You don't need to do that. Yeah.
Why would you do that?
And you know what it does is see in the NFL, what people don't realize, sometimes you get a team's A game. Like I think the Niners may have spit out their A game against Dallas. But guess what? If you play enough games, sometimes you get the B- game. Sometimes you get the C+ game. Well, what Sean Payton got guaranteed or is getting guaranteed is everybody's A game because he broke the code and went outside and talked a lot of trash. And now it's not just the Jets. Everybody is bringing their A game against the Broncos, and the Broncos can't handle everybody's A game.
Could we talk about Mike McGlinchey for a second, though?
Yeah.
What were the Broncos thinking? I mean, I don't understand these teams that look at a free agent that the current team that drafted this dude in the first round, the Niners didn't want Mike McGlinchey. They were nice. They're like, oh, shucks, we can't afford him. Like, nah, man, they'd rather have Colton McKivitz at $1 million than you. And the Broncos were like, oh, the Niners don't know what they have. They were with McGlinchey for 5 years. I know exactly what you don't know McGlinchey. And you're going to give him $17 million a year? Get to know Mike McGlinchey. I could have sent you like 3 or 4 videos, some cut-ups, but no one asks me. And that's why I only do quality control for one team, Larry. Just one.
You know what it reminds me of? Reminds me of that Niner regime way back when they kept signing guys like Gabe Wilkins and Nate Clements to big deals. And it's like these guys were drafted by those teams, and those teams are letting them walk, and you're going to pay them monster money, and neither of those guys wind up doing anything.
Why? Yeah, like
why?
Book was out on Mike McGlinchey. The Niners did a pretty good job of PR in that and covering it up and saying, oh, no, he's good, he's good, he's good. I'm sure they're so glad he's gone. No offense, but wow, he's expensive to be Colt McKivitz light.
Exactly.
Who's better? Mike McGlinchey or Colt McKivitz?
I think McKivitz. Now, McKivitz has been really good at, blocking for the run and struggled this year against the pass. But if you said have me evaluated, I would say McGlinchey could be slightly better as a run blocker, and I would take McGlinchey slightly, or I would take McKivitz slightly as a pass protector. But when you factor in the money, it's a no-doubter.
I think they're essentially – I don't think the Niners dropped off much at right tackle with McKivitz there. I mean, one guy wears 68, one guy wears 69. One guy's has name starts with MCM. One guy starts with MCK.
Okay.
Pretty close.
McKivitz a better interview too. I like McKivitz. He's always talking about hunting or fishing.
He's got a sense of humor, and
got a sense of humor.
McGlinchey is the kind of guy that you could tell really was prepared for his combine interviews because he was a first-round pick, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the mayor of this locker room, and we're going to talk about football now." And like McKivitz is just a fifth-round pick who's like, "Oh man, I'm from West Virginia. Sorry, that's a terrible,
My dad makes raccoon hats, and so I
he's
hunt
cool.
and I fish. He's
down to earth. I think McGlinchey's, a nice guy, but sometimes it's like, man, you're not running for office right now. You're at your locker. That's how I feel.
City Burt says, how much better Browns D-line than the Niners O-line? Better. So, it's going to be get the ball out quick kind of a game because, what's going to ruin this season? Brock Purdy trotting off, Sam Darnold trotting on. That's all we need to see. And I'm nothing against Sam Darnold, but he's not anywhere near Brock Purdy. And I think we saw it this summer. And if we have to see Sam Darnold, that's going to change the dynamic of this whole season. So get the ball out fast. Maybe run the ball a lot. Right? I mean,
yeah. I would say so.
Ken Konecki says Dallas's pass rush is better than the Browns. I would take Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith over Dallas. But Dallas has got a bunch of guys for sure. I just think that Myles Garrett, I don't know if anybody, you got to go look at Myles Garrett this year and then come back and tell me that anybody's better than him. I mean, he is big, strong, fast, dominating.
No one expects the Browns to beat the 49ers. Can we make that clear? Like, no one expects that. So we're just trying to make this interesting a little bit. Otherwise, we could just fast forward to the Eagles game. When do the Niners play the Eagles? December 3rd? December?
We got week 13 or something like that.
Yeah, we got 2 months. So we got to talk about the Browns now.
Yeah. It's Browns week. Well, that makes Browns week. I mean, that's the other question. Is there going to be an emotional letdown, and can the Niners win against a talented defensive line and a talented defense in the midst of an emotional letdown?
Can I just say that it felt like they had an emotional letdown after they played the Cowboys last time in the playoffs, and then went to Philly and just fell apart immediately? It felt like that was an emotional letdown, and it felt like the Niners were so fixated on Dallas. Remember when George Kittle was at the ESPYs and he did that little song and dance number, and he talked about beating Dallas like anyone cared? And then he came to this game wearing that F Dallas shirt, like Dallas matters. Man, forget Dallas. F Dallas would be forget Dallas. They don't matter, but the Niners like to measure themselves up. It's like they want to be America's team. Okay, you're America's team. You're better than them. Now be Cleveland. Don't mess it, because so far they've been so consistent every week. It's like I don't even expect them to have an emotional letdown. I think they're past that. It's year 7 of Kyle Shanahan. He seems like he's at his best. Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey are giving this team a standard of excellence that they haven't had. Like Jimmy Garoppolo was decent, but he didn't have a standard. Brock does. So I don't see, as long as Brock's the quarterback and he's super earnest, making $800,000 a year and working harder than everyone else on the team, I don't see how the Niners have weeks like that. I think that was more a reflection of Jimmy, the quarterback.
They say the teams take on the traits of their leader, and they say it's oftentimes either the head coach or the quarterback. Jimmy was resilient. The Niners were resilient. Jimmy was, flashy. The Niners were flashy. But I get the feeling that if the Niners are taking on Brock's deal, Brock is kind of, he's like perennially and continuously disrespected, and he's out there to prove that he's legit. And that's the vibe that you kind of get with this Niner team. I don't know.
And he hasn't made it yet. I feel like Jimmy kind of had the vibe after he got that contract. He got the contract after 7 starts. And he kind of had that vibe like he'd made it. Brock, it could all be taken away from him. It almost did with the elbow injury. And now he has another season and 3 quarters to perform well and not get injured before he can even think about an extension. So all he can do is keep it up because 13 games, it's a great 13 game start, but ultimately he's going to have to do more like 50 before he gets the extension. He's got a long way to go. He knows it.
Let's hit some of these supers. Fish and chips throws 5 pounds. 5 pounds. Look at that. I see improvement in Kyle's attitude, and the team is showing it on the field. It's nothing like the other seasons already. Past is the past and not relevant now. Do you see any change at all in Shanahan?
Do I see change at all in Shanahan? Yes.
As far as
absolutely,
as far as his demeanor, his confidence, his attitude at the podium, what he says. Tell me what you're seeing, because this is an area where I feel like you probably have insight that I don't have.
I mean, he acted like he was in an arranged marriage with Jimmy Garoppolo for 6 years, and it's like he acted like he wanted to get out, but he couldn't get out or whatever. And now he's with Brock Purdy, and he just seems like he's literally like he's in love. Loves his kid. I mean, everything he wants to do in the offense, Brock can do. Jimmy, it felt like they were fighting to get on the same page. Okay, what are you comfortable with? What am I comfortable with? Okay, I don't want to be under center. Right, I can't really roll out. Like, can't we just be in the shotgun? It's like, okay. It's like, well, how about this? The offense was so pared down for Jimmy. Like, why don't we just do this and this and this? And with Brock, it's just like, it seems like Kyle has unlimited inspiration, and Brock doesn't hold him back at all. Maybe if they had Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, there could be more of a vertical element in the game like Kyle had in Atlanta. Or maybe Kyle's like, you know what? That's not where the league is right now. Everyone's playing these 2 deep safeties. You just got to keep checking it down and getting yards after the catch, and we're great at that. So, yeah.
I would compare it to, if you've gone to Thanksgiving and you have that relative that gets married, and it's like, the wife's like real nervous about what the husband's going to say. So she's looking constantly nervous every time the husband speaks at like the Thanksgiving dinner table.
Doesn't really trust him.
Then they divorce.
I know you're gonna blow this once. You're gonna
blow this. You're gonna say something wrong.
Gonna say?
Who's gonna offend grandma?
No.
And now they divorce, and now here she is at the Thanksgiving table with her second husband, and this time they totally are in lockstep. She not worried at all about him. Shanahan seems so comfortable with Purdy in calling the game. I mean, look what he said at the podium Sunday. He's like, you know what? You just get into a mode where you don't want to call too many passes. He never was in that mode with Garoppolo. If anything, he was like, call more runs, take the ball out of his hands, don't let him make a mistake, don't let him ruin it. That's what I felt.
He just lucked out with where the hell did Brock Purdy come from? I mean, he was in the position where he was going to have to choose between Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. And all of a sudden Brock Purdy was like, hey, I'm over here. What do you think? And then it was like, time slowed down. It was slow motion. There was like doo-wop music playing, and it was like, why do I feel this way? Thinking about you every day, and I don't even know you. That's what it was like for them. And now it's just, a thing of beauty.
I got nervous as hell. I'll tell you when I was nervous as hell. The final practice before last year's cutdown, when Brock Purdy didn't play, and he was playing catch with Tay Martin on the side, and it was Sudfeld. It was only Sudfeld, and I'm like, oh my God, is it possible that Shanahan and these coaches don't realize what they have in Brock Purdy? Because I was convinced. I thought Brock Purdy was good, man. I really did. And then a lot of talk was like, hey, no. $3 million, Sudfeld, $3 million. They're not going to cut him. And then Brock, the last day of that, before the cutdown, got no reps. And I think looking back on that now, that was probably to see if they could bluff somebody else into trading a draft choice for Sudfeld. And they couldn't, right? Didn't they just cut him? Didn't they cut Sudfeld? Or did they trade him? They cut him, right? I think they cut him. You don't remember? Frank Tom Hoshin said, going to Cleveland, Grant? Great show. Studs. Thank you.
I'm taking the trip off. I'm trying to save a little money. I'll be back.
Not going to Cleveland.
Taking away. You don't go.
No, I never go.
Nah.
I never
It's
go.
a lot of money. These trips, and especially like random Midwest spot. It's like, okay.
You're not dying to go to the Rock and Roll Hall
it's like
of Fame?
change planes, and then that's expensive. And then there's like 3 hotels in town.
Have you gone every time? Do you go every trip? Pretty much.
I went every trip last year. I've been every trip. I'm just taking a few. It's expensive, man. It's expensive. Also, it's a long season, and I'm pacing myself.
Well, not only that, you start to run into weather, don't you? I mean, Cleveland. I mean, what's the weather going to be like in
Also,
Cleveland?
I'm not trying to talk bad about Cleveland, but I'll skip that one. It's
I
Cleveland.
know when Brian Sabian was the general manager of the Giants, he never would go to Denver. He hated Denver. Talking Head says this Cleveland game. Well, I like Denver, but I think he just hated Coors Field.
Denver.
He hated Coors Field. The
Okay.
games are endless.
He objected
Talking
to it.
Head says this Cleveland game was my spoiler alert. Cleveland defense is arguably 1 or 2 in the league. Very windy and rainy away game. We'll see.
Okay.
Ezio Sanchez, congrats on 69. Telling my peeps to sub to get to 420. Yes. There you go. 69,000. That's fat. Fish and Chips, Grant, are you going to return to your journalism? Oh, he's calling you a shock jock. Okay.
That's okay. No, it's GC, are you going to return to journalism rather than being a shock jock? It doesn't become your family rep, and you have lost me. Sorted out. All right, man, I'm working on it. I feel like I've been better the last 3 weeks. What do you think? Let me know. Give me some feedback. I'll take it. I'm working on it, Fish and Chips. I'm sorting it out.
I kind of like you. I like you more aggressive, actually. Ken Konecki says
They're
test
5-0.
The real test is this week. You say it every week, Grant. Is the real test this week?
No. The real test is the Eagles. That's it. The Eagles. But I'm trying to pump up the excitement.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns. Ah!
They could lose.
Ah!
Mike Koenig says, do you feel the D-line is using less stunts in games to focus on the run defense over quarterback pressure? Why else are the sack numbers down? I think the sack numbers are down because they're well, I mean, think about it this way. The Niners got sacks last year from Ebukam. He's not there. Amenahue, he's not there. Jordan Willis, he's not there. They replaced those guys with Kerry Hyder, who looked really slow in camp, and I was not surprised that he's not there right now. And I like Kerry Hyder, but he was slow. Cleveland Farrell, I love him. Great interview. Great guy to talk to. He's very slow. Drake Jackson, they're asking him to play a whole lot more snaps this year than last year. So they needed Randy Gregory. He shows up tomorrow. I'll watch him practice tomorrow for the first time, but I think that's a big part of it, Grant, is that they've got Bosa, but they don't have a lot of speed on the other defensive end spot. We haven't seen them play very many games. I thought that was all Chris that dialed that up, but Wilkes told me at a presser, last week or the week before when I asked, I said, does Chris have autonomy to dial this stuff up? He's like, no, I do it all. So
that's cool.
Maybe that's it. What do you think of Wilkes so far?
Oh, no. Wilkes is doing great. What I want to say about the sacks, I was watching the film. It looks to me like Wilkes has actually finally addressed the issue of quarterbacks scrambling all over the Niners. Like, the Niners are being much more controlled in their rush. They're not rushing past the quarterback. Nick Bosa is rushing. He's kind of sacrificing himself. Like, I'm not letting you scramble up the B gap.
No lanes.
On me. No more lanes. And I think the Niners are doing way better with that. As long as they just constrict the pocket and create pressure and keep that quarterback in one place, they're not going to lose. So I got to give Steve Wilkes credit for that. Saleh couldn't fix it. D'Amico couldn't fix it. If Deshaun Watson plays this week, I don't think he's going to beat the Niners with his legs. We'll see.
You got a good one here from Fafita, 50 spot. He says, get this to the 49er defense, please. Rugby tip. The way to win quarterback sneak scrums is for O-D-line to get low. Eagles do it best. Their O-line is always lower. Watch the Niners last week against the Cardinals in the defensive view. The whole D-line all standing up except Fred Warner. I hate that rugby scrum play, but I'll tell you, it's effective, especially if they're not going to blow the whistle. I hate it because it doesn't look good. And you know what I fear? I'll tell you what I hate it, because I kind of fear that if they don't start blowing the whistle, halting forward progress, that teams may wind up getting 3.5 or 4 yards. And if you're getting 3.5 and 4 yards and you get a bad weather day, why not just do it every play and no huddle it?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine the rugby scrum, the tush push, whatever the hell you want to call it, in a no huddle situation, in bad weather with bad turf, behind a great O line? And a Jalen Hurts quarterback.
Let me say something though. See,
could you imagine going the length of the field doing that?
It would be silly. It would be silly as hell. What I like about football though is like defense designs something that works and offenses have to figure out how to respond. And it's like this game back and forth between offense and defense. It's not like rules come in. That's baseball. Like, oh, you can't do the shift anymore. Oh, yeah, it's like, oh, this is boring. We can't. It's like, nah, that's on defenses to figure out how to freaking stop it. And once they stop it, then teams won't use it anymore because it won't be effective. That's what I love about football. Don't give these defenses any slack. Figure it out.
The chess match.
Yeah, the chess match is great. Like I don't want the rule committee to come in and end it. Like, okay, like defenses can't figure it out. It's just too hard. Like, nah, it's the NFL. Figure it out.
You know, though, it would be a terrible TV thing if there was some team that had some powerhouse quarterback and powerhouse fullback or something. Or I mean, at the end, why not just take your?
I want to see it happen one time.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? What if the Niners in that NFC Championship game against the Eagles after Josh Johnson went down, if they just said, guys, we're going to go tush push rugby scrum play with McCaffrey at quarterback the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And we're just going to see if we can push 4 times for 10 yards. We're not going to punt. We're going to go 4 attempts to make 10 yards on the tush push. I mean,
what would teams do if you lined up like that on 1st and 10? What would teams do? It'd be weird.
I don't know. I mean, they would take eventually after 3 or 4 plays, they'd take all their corners off the field and just put all these big boys out there.
Hey, I don't think we're going that way. I don't think we're going that direction. Teams want explosive plays, but what I like about it is that it's emboldening teams to go for it on 4th down, and I think that's good for football. Like, you know what really sucks to watch? Punting. Every time.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and the kickoff should be just eliminated. I mean, what? Why?
It's ceremonial at this point. It's like ceremonial at this point. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you're watching this game from afar and you see the kickoff, you're probably going, what? And you don't know football. You're like, what is this? What's the purpose of this play? And it's like, there is no purpose. It's
hard to explain. They just have been doing it for a while.
Yeah. It's a way to break up TV timeouts. That's
pretty much. Yeah.
Lyle Bolliard.
The players get cardio when they run down the field. It's nice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But supposedly, like when they play in London, I haven't gone, but supposedly people internationally respond huge to the punt. Like, woo! The ball's in the air. Look at that.
I mean, look, when Ray McLeod gets the ball and starts doing his thing, that's fun. How many times a game is that, though? 2?
Nobody wants that because you get hurt on that play.
Yep.
Sucks.
Shout out to Ray, though. He's a good player.
Oh, I love Ray. You kidding me? I said, Ray, what do you get? What do you listen to on your? Because I saw him wearing the headphones the other day. I go, what do you listen to before the game? He's like, 50 Cent High all the time. I'm like, all right, there you go.
Love that song. I can sing the whole thing right now, but I'm not going to because it's not my channel.
Little deuce in your boot. Lyle Bolliard says if the Niners are going to get Patrick Surtain, I think they better get him now. Dallas may go after him after the Niners beatdown. You like the deuce in the boot, didn't you?
Deuce in the boot. Like, wow, I didn't see that coming at all.
See that coming.
Larry Krueger, a wild card. If you ever
I'll drop that on you. My man Kinlaw the other day said that he was what was he saying that he was listening to? I forget exactly. Kodak Black.
Okay, he's got some jams.
He's got some Kodak Black in there.
Okay, all right.
I told him I had some Kodak Black, and he dapped me up. He said, "Oh wow, Kodak Black. Who knew?
Don't lie to him."
No, I did. I got some Kodak Black. Transporting. It's in my playlist.
There you go. Wow. Did I say you were a wild card? You're a wild card, Larry.
Seriously.
Watch out. Here he comes.
Don't let these grays fool you, man. Don't let them fool you. Stunna's 2 times says, I think you forget it's a rivalry game, LOL.
Yeah, man, that classic Niners-Browns rivalry. Who can forget?
Back to this super, though, on the Surtain. What do you think? I mean, the Niners get Randy Gregory, but they don't move any money. They don't really move any picks, right? Because they may literally be moving back like 1 or 2 spots in the draft from the late 6th to the beginning of the 7th with that pick. So they moved very little to get Gregory. It was almost like a free trade. If you're John Lynch, what's your prediction on John Lynch? Are they going to roll over? He says he wants to roll it over for Ayuk and all these other contracts, but you're in your Super Bowl window. I was looking at a list today of guys who could be traded before the end of the month, the trade deadline. Surtain was on the list. Brian Burns, Frank Clark, Marcus Davenport, Justin Houston, Yannick Ngakoue. And then there's a couple DBs, Adoree Jackson, Surtain. And then there was one that I thought was kind of interesting as well, Zach Ertz. Could you see John Lynch trading for Zach Ertz or a corner or another D end before the deadline? Because they got 40 million plus, and they got a full complement of picks, and they're inside their Super Bowl window. Should they make another addition, or should they just go with what they got?
What are the trade deadline moves they've made? McCaffrey, Sanders, anyone else?
McCaffrey. Well, they picked up a Menahue and Willis prior to the deadline.
But those two big ones. Yeah. Like McCaffrey, it's because they were falling apart at running back. Jeff Wilson Jr. was hurt and fumbling. Elijah Mitchell was out. Like they needed a guy. And then when they got Emmanuel Sanders, their starters were Dante Pettis and Marquise Goodwin. And Debo. They definitely needed a guy. Like now it's hard to say that they have a clear weakness on a team. Like Surtain, yeah, but
what is their weakness?
Would you move Lenore inside? Like he's really good outside. I don't think that's
Thomas their weakness.
Yeah, but he doesn't even play. Is Isaiah Oliver their weakness? I mean, he hasn't lost them any games yet. He's made some plays. Yeah, and I don't think you're getting a starting right tackle at the trade deadline. Now they do have the cap space for him, so who knows? That could be something. If a team starts tanking and they have an offensive lineman that they don't want or they can't afford, and someone magically becomes available, the Niners could do that. But they may want to say, like, you know what? We're cruising. We're leading the league in point differential. Let's not mess with this right now. We added Randy Gregory. That's a nice little addition because Drake Jackson wasn't really doing much. Other than that, if they could get a right tackle, sure. But I don't know about that.
I don't think that's possible. But let me ask you this: Jordan Willis, from what I can tell, and I don't know if there's something going on there I don't know about, but he appears to be not on any team nor on any practice squad. In your opinion, is Jordan Willis better or worse than Clelin Ferrell?
Better.
I think he's good better too.
I like Jordan Willis. Always liked Jordan Willis. I felt the Niners didn't really play him very much. And when they did, he made plays. Even on special teams. Like, they went to an NFC championship 2 years ago. Like, very much because of Jordan Willis, right? He was like the hand of God.
The play in Green Bay?
Yeah. He's the one that blocked the punt or whatever it was. Yeah. And then Talanoa got it. Like, those two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Willis is faster than Clelin Ferrell. And speed
bigger,
matters
faster, more powerful, better at football.
I wonder if they would if Clelin Ferrell, because Clelin Ferrell looks like the kind of guy that he can't get to the quarterback unless he fakes like he's going around the corner and then knifes back inside. If you give up the inside lane to Clelin, he can get to the quarterback. But if you just force him to run the loop, he can't get there.
He looks like a guy who can't get to the quarterback. Full stop.
Right now,
he's been in the league a minute and a half. I don't think he can get there. I mean, they brought him on the team to like set the edge and stop the run. Cool. I mean, he's doing his job. The defense is great, so I don't think they're mad at him. They know what he is. And now they got Randy Gregory too. Do you think Randy Gregory will play all three downs, or he'll be a third down guy, and Drake Jackson will have to take a step back?
I think he's going to play in a rotation. That's like a safe way out, right? Because Chris plays all of his guys in a rotation.
That's all right.
But he plays them kind of. I don't know. It's weird. Does he? I notice more series to series than like second down, third down. Though there are some downs.
Yes, I agree. Which is
series.
Wild to me because like there'll be series we'll have all the starters out, and it's like, hey man, I mean, you're going to give up a touchdown on this drive, but it's like, okay, if that's the only touchdown you give up all game,
it's fine. Weird. And then all of a sudden, let's say they get on first down or two, here comes Bosa. Then you see Bosa on third down. I would like to see Willis if he's out there and available. Bazamian says every single championship game Kyle lost in his career, Super Bowl, NFC championship games, the opponent always has a superior quarterback. Maybe the year that changes because of Brock.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is Brock?
I don't know how good
Hurts?
Brock is because he's on this great team. It's hard to tell. It'd be easier to tell if he was on a mediocre team, but I think it's obvious that he's way, 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 way better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's significant for this team, considering how far they made it with Jimmy.
He's way better than Jimmy.
Way better than Jimmy.
I mean, all you got to look at is Brock against Steelers in Pittsburgh compared to Jimmy against Steelers in Vegas. Night and day.
Brock has a better feel and handle for the system after 13 games than Jimmy Garoppolo did in 6 years, man. That's true. I mean, just start right there. Brock Purdy just puts in more work mentally than Jimmy Garoppolo ever did. They used to always say, like, hey, Jimmy's good. Wait till he gets the system down. Wait till he's in year 2, like Matt Ryan. Remember how when Matt Ryan finally got it, how freaking good he was?
MVP.
That's Purdy. That's Purdy. He has that kind of a handle on the system. Jimmy, I don't know if he ever cared to. I don't know.
I'll say this too. I'm in that locker room all the time. I know you are as well. Late last year, when I would interview Kittle or Juszczyk, they loved Jimmy. They would never cross Jimmy, but you could tell they thought Brock was better. They didn't want to say it. They didn't want to say it, but they thought.
Dude, Jimmy knows Brock is better. How about that?
It means more to Brock than it meant to Jimmy.
Yes.
Jimmy didn't seem like he wasn't as into it.
He kind of strikes it as a guy who could take it or leave it. Like, man, I made $150 million doing this.
I'm really rich. I'm good looking. I'm
32. Like, it's cool. It's glamorous. It's fun. But, like, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. Like, Brock is like, I was placed on earth from the powers that be to do this. And let me tell you something. God is a big Brock Purdy fan. I know I'm just trying to make him, proud of me right now. Like, he is so self-assured. Like, this is his calling. His calling. I mean,
it seems
you want to bet on someone who's that determined.
All I got to say is, if I was Kyle Shanahan, based on this situation, I'd head to Vegas because you're living right, man. You got this guy in the last pick in the draft. You're living right.
Nah, I wouldn't do that because Kyle. Problem with Kyle.
You still fear
He's
Kyle.
Had some big flops and big games. Like he's great, man. But when the big test comes, he's only failed. So Brock hasn't done that. McCaffrey hasn't done that. Like Kyle has that baggage, those skeletons in his closet. So he has the best team in the league this year. You're the best coach, supposedly. You got to get this one done, Kyle. Like you can't find a way to not win the Super Bowl this year. You got to get it done. You're the best. They're the best. You got it all. You got it all.
The burden of expectations. Yeah,
you gotta. Otherwise, if you lose, you find a way to lose deep in the season. Man, that's you. At a certain point, you have a character flaw, and you're not going to change it. You're too old. You're too stuck. It's just you. So I think we're looking at Kyle Shanahan as a guy who's sort of a new Kyle.
Well, it's interesting. Kyle. That's an interesting point you're making because it's like basically what you're saying is Purdy's so good that he's isolating Kyle. So if they don't get it done,
the best out of Kyle. Well, isolated. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yep.
I see what you mean. Yes, it's on you, dude. And you can't point the finger at your quarterback anymore. Like, oh, why don't you ask Jimmy Garoppolo about that? Like, nah, you can't do that with Brock. He's the real deal. You said it. He's playing like it. It's on you. It's on you.
Right now, him saying he's the real deal looks prophetic. Mike Monahan says, I like the new Grant. Less sour. I kind of like the old Grant, actually. Mike Monahan says, 49ers saying Brock was 4th round grade. Okay. Well, they said they were going to pick him in the 4th, and they just didn't, and then they wound up taking him in the 7th.
They just took Tariq Castro Fields over. I love when teams rewrite history because there's no official account of it. Like, say whatever you want to say. Sure.
We liked him in the 4th, but we needed a corner.
But we needed Tariq Castro Fields.
Gregory is speed off the edge. It equals sacks.
Yeah,
I like it. I like the Gregory pickup. Yeah, seriously. As long as he's what was his issue? He smoked some grass. That's it, right?
I don't know. Is that even an issue anymore in the NFL? I don't even know.
I mean, there's dispensaries like probably within 5 miles of the stadium. Pac O says a buck. There you go. Thank you, Pac. Keith Murphy says the unbeaten. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten. To me, Kyle looks more relaxed, like he's not cursing under play card, APL game, all play long, game long. Okay, I got you.
He's got the quarterback he wants.
He does. He absolutely does. Keith Murphy says Grant is Joakim Noah, who wants to go to Cleveland.
It's far. It's expensive flight. It's Cleveland. I'm sorry. I'm giving myself the week off. I'll make more money at home. Sorry.
Seriously. Plus, I mean, you can come on right after the game. I love it when they go on the road because I can come on right after the game. And I don't have to wait.
And I have to wait 3 hours, yeah.
Yeah, 49ers says, did we forget last season? 49ers ready? Real talk.
Real talk. I like when people say real talk. It's like, oh, dang. He's not messing around.
He is not messing around.
Not messing around. Real talk.
Matt McKeon says, or Matt McKeon.
McKeown.
He says, McKeown. Make it fair. Allow defense to be able to group up and push back, but they made it illegal for defenses to do it for player safety. If I'm correct, yeah, it's like it's a rule that like kind of favors the O line over the D line.
Real talk.
Fafita, another 10. He says, quality control and Krug. I didn't waste $50 plus this one for y'all to not get my message to the Niners D. Watch the film and tell me I'm wrong. Lowest man always wins. Use this tip to win against the Eagles. Quarterback sneaks.
Real
I'll
talk.
pass it. You know what? I'm gonna tell Wilkes. Wilkes, quarterback sneak.
Real talk.
Brian J says, other great part of Surtain is he's still on his rookie contract for 2 more years. Make it happen, Niners. Probably means you get
real talk.
One pick.
Real talk.
That's real talk. That's real talk. All right, here's one for you before we hit these last couple. How would you describe what we're seeing out of Warner and Greenlaw? And Grant, give me your perspective. You saw the height of Bowman and Willis. Who do you like more as a combo? You like Bowman and Willis? You like Warner and Greenlaw?
Oh, God.
Warner is such a good pass defender, and Greenlaw is just nasty. Bowman and Willis were freaking unbelievable, too, in their day. I mean, those guys, 2 guys covered that entire second level, and the Niners are still leaning on 2 stack backers to cover the whole second level.
Okay.
Who's better?
So just in terms of athleticism,
okay,
like Willis is the most athletic
healthy,
linebacker I've ever seen. But that's a good point. Like, how many years did Willis and Bowman have together that they were both healthy? 2, 3?
Not very many.
What?
I thought we
Not
were
that
going to
many.
see him for like a decade, and then
Yeah.
Willis had foot problems, and Bowman had that terrible injury in the NFC title game where he got the knee bent back, right? And that was
Willis
crushing.
was 6'1", 240, and ran like a 4.3. Okay, like he was a top 15 pick in the draft.
Top
6.
6. He was a 6 pick.
Yeah. Okay, so he was on a whole different level, and he was that good. And Navarro Bowman, he's a great
Second-round
athlete
pick
too.
out of Penn State.
Great athlete too. I feel like Greenlaw's kind of like a mini Patrick Willis. He really plays fast. He's not as big as Willis was. He plays fast. He's fast. Warner's just so different. He's 6'3". He's so smart in coverage. He's always around the play. He seems like such a big part of his game is his size. Like in zone coverage, you can't throw over him. You just can't. He just takes away the whole middle of the field in zone. I've never seen a linebacker do that like him. Maybe Brian Urlacher when I was a kid, but this guy's the best, and he's a ferocious tackler. Like, he's way stronger than he was 4 or 5 years ago when he first came in the league. I mean, he's one of the more he played nickel in college. He's one of the more unique football players I've ever seen.
And you're there at practice. He gets like on a random Tuesday when the energy's low. Fred Warner gets him rolling, and Dre Greenlaw is a tone-setting player of the highest order on game day. So I'm leaning. Even though Willis and Bowman were spectacular, I'm gonna lean. I think they were better athletes. I would say I'll take the Greenlaw Warner combo right now. I love that.
I also feel like I've always kind of felt that Kyle isn't really a leader. Like, he's really good and players play hard for him. He's a great play designer, but he's so laid back, and he really empowers his players to lead, which is great. I mean, these are grown men. And so I think he really empowers Fred Warner. Fred Warner is the head coach of the freaking team. Fred Warner and Brock Purdy could each be a head coach. They have that kind of temperament. They're the quarterback of the offense, quarterback of the defense, and they're both so serious and such great leaders. Off the charts, both of them. I think that's something to keep in mind.
All right, 3 last supers, and then I got one more question for you. Nees says it's really wild to realize 2 out of 5 weeks we've had our backup quarterback out doing cleanup. We beat teams so bad. I can't remember this dominance.
That's what it used to be like when in the Steve Young, you used to see Elvis Gerback come in and see Steve Young,
Steve
and Jerry Rice
or something.
Yeah. You see it all the time.
NG49, Brock Purdy is legit. He's the reason this team's on a higher level than ever before. CMC, 2.5 yards per carry. Brock, 4 touchdowns against Dallas. I want to see it in the playoffs.
Hold on. 2.5 yards per carry. Are you saying that to insinuate that McCaffrey's overrated? He was the focus of the game plan, and other people, he essentially got sacrificed for the benefit of everyone else. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be one at the expense of the other. They're both great.
I know, seriously.
Who would you say is the MVP of the offense of the team?
I mean, the
Which one?
MVP is a quarterback award, and if you took out McCaffrey, man, you have other guys. If you go to
Put Debo
Darnold, I
back
think
there.
there'd be a
Yeah.
huge problem. So I'm going to say Purdy, but
Not a Darnold
you
guy?
can't slight it. I'm
playing.
really not.
I'm just
I've
playing.
never been.
Playing.
For Life Niner says Grant, your ass, all love, bro.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Sean
Shepard.
Shepper. What up, Grant Krug? The only thing that Watson is beating us at is the sheet removal and happy ending race. Heard he's the king at that. Finally, we have a quarterback. Keep it going, guys. Greenlaw is the heart.
Too soon.
That is such a weird story. I mean, dude, you're a good-looking pro athlete. You gotta lure people into stuff.
I'm not testing that.
Yeah. Okay. I probably shouldn't either. Brother Bob says it's pronounced Fred MF and G Warner. And then we got this one from Fish and Chips.
Federico. That's his real name.
Remember Federico is Brother Bob?
His real name is Federico. Federico. That's a great name. I think he should go by Federico Warner. I mean, it's his life.
Fish and Chips says, remember PW run down that Arizona wide receiver to save the game. Patrick
Willis, I think, is the best linebacker I've ever seen play. I'm sorry.
One of the greatest athletes of a linebacker ever. 8089.
But I wouldn't say he was like the coordinator of the defense or the coach of the team. Like, he was very much of like the silent assassin,
right.
Sticks to himself, whoops you, like messes you up. But yeah.
They fell in love with him. 808 says the throw Brock Purdy made to Brandon Ayuk over Van Der Esch on the 20-yard line. Ian proves he can make any throw he needs in this offense, but can they stop the Eagles' run game? Even when Hurts is struggling, they lean on the run. That's a big question. And Brother Bob says, I'm saying it now, Niners 44, Brownies 6, book it. All right, last question I would have. Last two questions. Does Brock and the way he's playing, Grant, change your opinion of Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh, no. I mean, I felt like this was always my suspicion. I always felt with him was like, man, you're a high-level backup. And you're playing with a good play designer and a good defense, and you win a lot of games like 21-19, but you're not that good. And once you don't have that defense and George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and all these things and Kyle, you're going to get exposed. And you said your plays freaking suck, man. Like, you got to live with that, because now you're with a coach whose plays really do freaking suck. And now Jimmy Garoppolo looks like he freaking sucks. Yeah, man. Like, I mean, either Brock Purdy's the greatest quarterback of all time and Jimmy is what he is, or Brock's a very good quarterback who's being elevated, and Jimmy Garoppolo is a pretty weak quarterback who's being elevated.
I think it changes my opinion of Jimmy completely. It makes me think that Jimmy had the benefit of a great play caller, awesome weapons, and still couldn't get it done.
And a great defense.
And made similar mistakes over and over.
All he would say is like, hey, I won. It's like, yeah, by 3, and because of your defense and your running game. Like, come on. Purdy's out here putting up 30 points every game, and like he leads the league in pass rating. That's what you could have been doing.
Purdy's making Jimmy look bad in hindsight. NG49, I'm not sliding CMC. He's the man. I just see everyone saying maybe Brock is purely a product of talent around him. He's great in his own right. Sean O'Leary says Greenlaw is nasty, but I worry about his temperament. Will cost a big penalty at a bad time come playoffs. Needs to control it a bit. Yeah, that's true. That is true. And Brother Bob says Purdy's pimp. Be honest. You'd take Purdy over Montana. Be real. No, I would not. No, I would most likely take Joe. All right, and the last question. Who's going better right now? Niners or Eagles?
The Niners. Now, we'll see how they finish, but the Niners, their offense, wow. It's like they really picked up where they left off from last year, and they're better. And the thing about the Niners, Purdy's better than last year. I didn't see that coming. Let me be the first one to say I didn't see that coming. I saw the interceptions in camp, and I thought about what he was coming off this injury, and I thought, this guy's going to take a step back before he takes a step forward. That was not the case. He has taken steps forward, which is just another thing that's so impressive about him. So the Niners are better than the team they were in the NFC Championship game. No question. Are the Eagles? Maybe they will be eventually, but they have 2 new coordinators, and it looks like their offense is still kind of figuring it out, although they're 5-0. So
I'm going to say Niners are better than the Eagles, and because I think the Eagles lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, it's huge. As far as Purdy in camp, you know what he did in camp, Grant, that you brought up, and we talked about many times, and he has not done that in the regular season. How many balls did he throw in camp that just hung up in the air? They just
like every day.
He would throw a ball that would hang in the air and look like a duck. Just you could hear the quack, and he has not.
You could literally hear it.
He has not thrown one ball like that since camp. Swear to you,
he hasn't.
But he did throw a lot of those in camp. He did. He actually did.
I mean, with Jimmy would play how he practiced. The stuff he didn't practice was the stuff he did in games. Brock's actually seems like he's testing himself in practice, extending himself in practice so that he can learn what he can and can't get away with, which is what you're supposed to do. So I was just so used to watching the Jimmy Garoppolo experience. I was thinking, man, Jimmy throws a pick to a linebacker in the practice. He's doing it in the game. Brock Purdy, that is not the case. So, I mean, that's another reason why I respect him.
There you go.
He improves. He takes it seriously, the craft every day.
Comrade says Purdy's better than Grant and Larry. Real talk. Oh, look at that. You got to trash on us? And we got one more super WTM. Yo, Krueger Cohn, name 3 players the Niners can use in a trade that are worth a first-round pick. I don't know if Surtain is worth a first-round pick. I would say that they could use Surtain, definitely. Brian Burns, definitely.
Patrick Mahomes? Nah, they don't need Patrick Mahomes. They're good. They're good. Thank you, Patrick. Your services are not required. Keep it pushing.
Grant, good show. What do you got cooking the rest of the week on the channel? What are you doing?
I got Rob Guerrera, 9 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. Niners After Dark, 6 o'clock tomorrow. Coaches meeting, 10 a.m. Thursday. Wild Card Friday. Cohn Phone Saturday. Might be do a little extra something because I'm not going to Cleveland.
I've got a little Raj tonight. My friend Raj from RSF
Love
49ers.
Raj. Say hello to Raj for me, please.
He's very, very positive.
He does a great job.
He does a great job. He's a good man. So check out me and Raj later tonight. Grant, peace. Have a good one, man. Say hi to Pops.
Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.